Hey everyone, welcome back to Rhythm Railroad. So I'm working on the scene here, which is the lead from the yard that I've been talking about recently. I did put this on my update video, actually yesterday or the day before, so you know what it's all about. The yard's over there. The lead comes out. I had to remodify all this. Lead continues over the bridge, over the river, and then exits into the main line right there. So, the track plan is done. Everything's in place. But I wanted to talk to you about the scenery and everything that I'm working on to make this look, finished. So basically, what I had to do, as I mentioned before, is I had to extend the bench work from the old bench work, which ended there. And then I also had to figure out the heights because I did want to go lower in order to create some kind of cascading effects coming off the main river here. And then this pit here would be like the lowest part of the river, or the deepest part of the river, I should say. And so that's the plan. Obviously, I put some color down just to kind of see what things are going to look like. But before any of this happened, what I had to do is kind of plan how the bridge was going to fit and land on, and how the ends were going to look, obviously with the hills and all that stuff. So I finally got there and I wanted to make a video before I got too far with this. So as you can see, the piers are in place. These piers are just basically these Chooch product piers that you could buy at your hobby store. This is actually meant for a double bridge, I think. But I like the way it looked, so I don't care if it's a little bit oversized. But it's basically, I bought one to figure out the center. And so what I did, these were actually a lot taller originally. So what I did is I figured out the height here, and then I just cut it. And then the part that was left actually worked out for this. So this is actually the bottom of this. I had to trim it a little bit just to get it balanced, to get it level. And then I needed one more, so that's why I got a second one, which I cut. But this is on the higher part of this riverbed. So obviously it was a shallower piece, and it came from here. So this is just extra right now. I also, obviously created all the different heights with using foam, pink foam. So this is I think it's like 1/4 inch pink foam that I just kind of shaped with my hot knife. I've been using this to cut, all the shapes because it's kind of easy to, especially with slopes, to kind of just go like this, and the hot wire just cuts right through it like butter. It's great. So it's been very useful. It doesn't make a mess either. I don't have to be scraping the pink foam and the stuff gets everywhere. So recommend that. So once I figured out all the piers and where they were going to land and all that stuff, then I went ahead and figured out the ends for these deck girder bridges, right? Which are necessary since these are so deep, or I guess tall, whatever you want to call them. But I needed something to get past the part with the slope, and that was the way I decided to do it. This one's a 90-footer. This one's, I think, a 70-footer. And the reason why I got a 70-footer on this side is because this is actually a curve. So, you can't have like a very long segment of bridge, because then the track kind of like hangs over the bridge and looks a little ridiculous. So it's better to go with shorter, even if you have to do like 2 or 3 to get the curvature. Similar to what I did with that bridge up there, but that's very different scenario. Anyways, so once I was done with that, obviously I painted the bridges after building them, and I weathered them. I probably could go a little heavier on the weathering, but I kind of like it like that. I went with like a greenish color here. I wanted to give it a little contrast. Same thing here. I made it look kind of rusty by, once I painted it green, I kind of hit it with the Rust-Oleum camouflage brown. But from very, very far away, I just kind of give it a mist, and it created a nice rust effect. So I'm pretty happy with that. This one came out a little bit better than the other one. But I'm still going to weather the bottom with a little bit more like built up rust, kind of like the reddish rust. So what I did today, and this is the reason why I'm making this video, is that I wanted to kind of get the color in and the plaster and the walls in place. Everything kind of came together, and I finally was able to see the entire picture. And you know, when it's true that when you add a little color, everything just pops and everything just makes sense all of a sudden. Instead of like looking at, like when I look at this, it's hard to see because you know it looks like a snow scene with like pink core. So when I look at this, it's like, oh, okay, now I can see how I can build it upon this scenery here and add trees and grass and make it look better. Um, so yeah, the abutments are made from scratch. I just made them out of wood and some. This is styrene. This one here, I didn't really need. I wanted to go much deeper into the slope here, so I didn't really need anything like very exposed like this one. So I just went ahead and just made a little platform out of wood, and it just ties in. And then the walls here, the retaining walls for the tunnel or the overpass, whatever you want to call it, are just more of the same pink foam that I used to make these, just vertical. This is two pieces here, 1, 2, and this is just one going across the back. I obviously covered them in plaster and sanded them smooth so it looks like two separate things. I didn't want, you know, I mean, I made the whole thing out of plaster, but I didn't want this to be rough, and then it looks just like dirt, like coming down. So by making this a very smooth finish and this a rougher finish, you get the contrast. And then obviously I painted it like a cement gray, and I gotta weather all this stuff. This looks way too clean right now, and I might even do like little scrapes to make it look like, you know, the concrete joints kind of are there. But more about that later. I just wanted to give the general picture of this. I also made some more rock molds. These actually I installed about an hour ago, so they're still, that's why you see this, they look very rough right now. There's still a lot of white parts. I just wanted to give it a little color just to kind of match that, but obviously this is older and more put together. There's other shades of color there that I want to add to this eventually to kind of blend it in. But at least you get the idea. It's a nice shot from here. I like how that looks. It's gonna look really nice too with the water cascading down here. And you know, you got a train coming. That's gonna be a great little scene. So, now that I have everything in place, obviously I painted not only this side of the slope, but I also created a slope on this side and painted that as well. And now I'm just working on figuring out how I'm gonna make a bridge here for the cars. And then obviously I'll ballast. I'll fill in the gaps here with the ties, and then you know put some feeders down into the benchwork for power, and this should be up and running pretty soon. I gotta also add the guardrails, kind of like here, and paint it and do all that stuff with this bridge track. But it's easy to remove because it's just, you know, a couple of rail joiners and just, you know, the whole thing is, I soldered this joint so the whole thing just lifts. So that should be pretty simple. I'm only a little concerned with the curve here because I have to curve the what do you call it, the guardrail. So you know this part of it is gonna have to be a little bit curved to get past the abutment here. But I'll figure it out. And once this dries, this is the reason why I didn't paint this is because it's not dry yet. So once this dries, it'll look basically like that. And then the last element is going to be, once I get the dirt and the grass and all the scenery down, then the last thing is going to be the water effects. And I'm still kind of debating what I'm going to use, but most likely I'll use a combination of things. Over here I use the GAC 500, which is this stuff. I'm sure you've seen this. Boomer Dioramas uses this a lot. But this is the 200. It's a little bit more liquidy. But the 500 looks great. The only thing is I wanted to make this look very deep, so I might do the Envirotex down here just to get a little height. And it'll be dyed. It'll be, you know, I'll use some kind of paint or probably the same color as this to make it look more opaque. So you can't see in like this. Like this, I just went with just clear. So you can see the riverbed because that's supposed to be like a shallower part of the river. And then as it enters this part, obviously it's deeper, so that's why I want to do the Envirotex. And then once that dries, I'll probably put the GAC 500 on top of it just to make it look like it's moving, because I love the way this came out. I mean, I didn't do anything to that. I just basically poured it on there and it dried beautifully. But when the light hits it, it really looks like it's flowing. So I'm going to use that same effect. And then obviously the cascading thing, I got to figure out, I got to practice, you know, off the layout and figure out how I'm going to make that look right, or at least close to realistic. And then that's it. Then once that's done, I'll be done with the scene. So a lot of work to do still, but at least it's coming along and it's moving fairly quickly. So at the next video, hopefully I'll be done with this area here. I'll have the track in place. I'll have trains running through it, hopefully. And then I'll figure out the water and all that stuff on the third video. Unless I decide to do like the ground cover as its own video. But just wanted to put that out there while I'm still working on it. And while it's still in planning stages, so to speak. So you can see what's going on. All right, thanks for watching.